Welcome to another diary session. This is my immigrant diary, and my name is Precious.
My name is Wale.
All right, then. Today, we're going to continue from the last conversation we had with Wale, listening to his journey of how he traveled or how he migrated to America. I remember if you've been following the this series, you realize in the last episode, Wale had gone to Estonia and was almost deported from Estonia, went back to Nigeria, got sponsorship again, and went to Latvia. Right? We ended the last diary session with Wale breaking our hearts that he lost his job in Latvia. It was the second time in
Yeah.
Europe where he lost his job. So Wale, please, take us from from there because I still don't understand how all of these things happen and you made it to America. How? Like what happened next when you lost your job in Latvia? Because now I'm thinking you could be, facing deportation or any other thing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So with Latvia, it actually came at an interesting time when I lost the job. So I had I it actually came at a time when I my residence card for Latvia was going to expire. So
Wow. So there was no
basically,
way you could renew. You like renewal was not an option because now you don't have a job.
yeah, exactly. So what happened was like I started looking for a job immediately as soon as possible. And then eventually I was able to get a company that wanted to hire me. So normally what they should have done is that they would reach out to the government agents responsible for residency, and they would say they want to hire this person, and they will issue me like a new residence. That's pretty much it. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why, but like the government agency responsible for the residents, they told the company that like I'm not basically they can't issue me a card because my card had expired. And
Wow.
so which was very surprising. But luckily, remember that I applied for an Estonian residence before I moved to
Yeah, I
Latvia.
remember. So
So
yeah, that's true. You still so your Estonia residency was valid, right?
yes, it was still valid. Yeah, it
So
was. It
Roger
was.
me Roger Roger me this. So with an Estonia residency, right?
Yeah,
You could live in other countries in Europe or you could move around. Tell me. I don't
yeah. You
understand that.
can pretty much stay temporarily for like 6 months in a country, with your Estonian residency. So,
Okay.
and that's why I could remain in the country even though that one had expired. So I was looking for something
Man,
else.
you are a lucky dude, man.
Yeah, so I eventually I already before I ever moved to Europe, I had a friend in Germany who is also from Nigeria. So I've actually remained in I've always remained in communication with him. So when that happened, I just spoke with him about it, and it was like, and his response was to encourage me to move to Germany because he told me there are a lot of opportunities in Germany, so I'll be better off in Germany. And I thought, well, okay, let me try. Let's see.
So these are opportunities in your field, right? Like
Yes,
software
yes,
engineering, is it?
yes, yes, software engineering. So I
Okay.
I didn't really know how the European economy works at the time. But now I realize that what he actually said was absolutely true. There are a lot more opportunities in Germany compared to like Estonia and Latvia.
All right, but
So
hold on a second. So for our followers and anybody watching this video today's episode, please comment on your opinion with regards to what Wale said in terms of there are more opportunities in Germany. If you feel there are other European companies with more opportunities for any field, maybe software engineer like Wale is or any other field, please put a comment below and so that other people can learn and be aware of the information. Also, if you're enjoying this content and enjoying this diary session, kindly like and subscribe as we'll be bringing you more interesting content as we go. So over to you, Wale.
Yeah, so I reached out. I started applying to different kind of positions. One of the recruiting companies that I applied through. Actually, when I lost the job in Estonia, I applied through them to be able to get like a job in Europe, in the EU. So they actually work with in different countries. So when I applied, when I applied to the company, when I lost the job in Estonia, they did tell me that because I didn't have my bachelor certificate at the time, that's, they would need it for me to be able to apply to countries they were serving. So this time around in Latvia, I applied. I basically just renewed my application on their website and just spoke with them. And this time around, they already have connections. They have the kind of service where I can companies where I can apply to and don't require the certificate. They just need the experience. So I sent in my application, and they were doing something. They created a program called I don't remember the name right now, but they had a program where they wanted to fly out. Basically, they would fly out software engineers from different parts of Europe to Berlin. It's called Berlin Open Doors. Yes, it's called Berlin Open Doors. They would fly out different like software engineers to Berlin to meet with companies, and then if you're interested in a company, you apply, and then if the company is interested in you, they will continue with the interview, and then you can get a job. So that was the program. So I signed up for it, which was really nice. They flew me out. They flew a bunch of us out to Berlin. It was a day program. Basically, they flew us out to Berlin. We met with different companies. We met with 4 companies in total at that time. But before I got to Berlin, I already knew someone in Berlin besides my Nigerian friend. So I just told him I was coming over. I stayed with him for a bit, and then after the events of meeting with the company and experiencing Benin a little bit, I told my friend I would like to stay a little bit longer, just for me to experience the city, to really know if this is a place that I want to move to. So ended up staying in Berlin for like 2 weeks, and that
Okay.
meant and that meant I made more connections with people, with other people. I attended like a couple of events. I expanded my network, and that experience, I realized that I would really love to live like in Berlin. So
Okay. Interesting.
so I then went back home to Riga in Latvia. And actually, before I even made that trip, I had already decided that I was going to, if I don't get a job by a certain time in Latvia, I'm going to leave and go back to Nigeria, because I was running out of finances, right? So I had not worked
Oh,
till stopped working in July, and this time around I had gotten to, I think, October. Yeah, so I got into October.
okay. So
And then,
basically, your finance was going down as a
yeah,
result of the fact that you needed to leave, survive, pay your bills without
exactly,
a professional job at the time.
exactly,
And
exactly.
plus, you mentioned you went to Germany, so you were even traveling,
Yeah,
across Europe without a job.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. But it
so
was it was an investment, like the way
no, oh
all
yes,
these
oh yes, oh
decisions
yes, oh
at the
yes,
time
because
they were all investments.
oh
So
yeah, it's
I could have
valid. You
stayed and say, I want to save my money and just stay here and not do
Oh,
anything. So,
absolutely, absolutely. No, you're correct because you mentioned you build your network, you build connection. It was clear to you that you would like to live in Berlin. Berlin
yeah,
fitted your goals, your
yeah,
aspiration at the time, and
yes.
so it's very valid. It's very necessary for the next phase, in your career or in your life at the time. So
Yes.
yes. I completely
Yes,
agree with you, and I'm sure a lot of our audience will agree with you as you said.
yes, yes, yes.
So now you went back to Latvia, you
Yes, so
know.
I went back to Latvia, and then but before I went back, while I was staying in Germany, I had applied to some of the companies I was interested in, and then the process had already started with some of those companies before I left. So one of the other reasons I stayed for 2 weeks in Berlin was because I wanted to try to complete the interview process in Berlin in person, meeting with those who I'm going to be interviewing with before I
All right,
left. But
okay.
unfortunately, I couldn't do that. So uh, basically, I went back to Latvia, and then I decided on this date in November I'm going to fly back home. So I flew, and the time came, I flew back to Nigeria. But I continued the interview process with those companies. So in Nigeria, I was a lot more relaxed. I was with family and friends. So I had a lot of support. Again, like the pressure of living in a different country is no longer there. So I was able to kind of reset my mind and see how I want to approach the future. So
Okay.
during that, I was also interviewing with the companies, and then like I said, mentioned earlier, at the time I didn't have my bachelor certificate, so I worked on getting that. Actually, I've been working a while to get that sorted out with my school. So during that trip back to the country, I got it, and I had it in hand, and then basically I just try to settle a lot of things that has to do with my career or my education before I left, before I would leave again. So
Oh, so hold,
eventually
hold on,
I
hold on, hold on, hold on. You just sound so confident that you were gonna leave. Like you
yeah.
like you are so
Y-
confident. Is this because of the value of your skill as a software engineer? Is this because you had worked in Estonia as a software engineer, Latvia as a software engineer, and you think you had the experience to be able to get a placement in Germany, in Berlin? Or was it also because you were now at the stage where if you permit me to say, and this is largely my opinion, preparedness, when they say,
yeah,
meets opportunity, so you're more prepared because you now have your BSc certificate in and you had every other documentation you require to travel. And if I may ask, your what's it called? Your Estonia residency at this time, was this? Do you still have it? Was it still valid, or
yeah,
I did?
yeah.
As it?
I
Oh, it was
still
still
had it. Yeah,
valid. So you could
yeah,
have traveled. You could have traveled to Europe even at any time, even though you had moved back to
yeah,
Nigeria. So what made
yeah.
you decide to move back? You could have stayed back. Oh, wow,
Yeah,
really?
the financial aspects, basically the financial aspect.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
running
you
out of
mentioned.
finances, so it's a lot more
Okay,
affordable to live in Nigeria than to live in Europe. So
having hard currency, right?
yeah.
Okay, having
So
what's it called? Yeah.
yeah, so I moved back. I moved back to the country. I sorted out a few of those things I needed to sort out, especially with my certificates. And I was applying, continued the process for the interview. The other confidence that I also had was I'm a spiritual person, so I had for uh, so it's reasons I can't really explain or I can't go into details right now. I knew for some reason I knew that I was going to live in Berlin. So so that I was confident in. How long it was going to take, I wasn't sure about that, but I knew I was going to live in Berlin.
Okay.
So I started the application. So while I was interviewing, when I got back to Nigeria, I continued the interview process. I think like 2 weeks after I got back, if I remember correctly, I got an offer from one of
Wow.
the companies to go and work in Berlin. At the time, I didn't know how good the company is, but when I got the offer, then
Wow.
I did the research. There's a website where you can check company reviews. I checked company reviews. They had fantastic reviews. So I was like, oh, okay. Like this looked like a great company, and
Wow.
I appear to have chosen right. So I was really happy with that. I accepted the offer, of course, but that also meant I had to go back. So since I had sorted out a lot of things that I wanted to do in Nigeria, including meeting with family, also with my dad and mom. I didn't stay with my parents when I was there, so I met with my parents to let them know the situation, and then when I'm going back and things like that. So I started everything, and then I booked a trip, headed back to Germany. My time in Germany was very interesting.
No,
If you know
but
it,
hold on, Wally, hold on. I mean, this your story is amazing. Like you got you were living in Nigeria, you got a
yeah,
sponsorship, a job sponsorship,
yeah,
100% cover,
yes,
100% cover, right? Paid for to Estonia. You lost the job. You came back to Nigeria. You did not overstay your visa.
hmm,
You got another job in Latvia while in Nigeria a second time, right? This
yes,
is like the second time, second effort, right?
yes,
100% sponsored.
yes,
I mean, I'm not going to go back into all of the story. If you're interested in this, please check the previous diary sessions. You were in Latvia, you lost the job. Long story short, you came back to Nigeria. This is now the third time.
yes,
Then you got another job now in Germany.
yes,
Wow. I think I'm in the wrong
yes.
career path. I think I'm in the wrong career path. Honestly, I need to change my career path. Honestly, I don't know, man. You beat this
Yes,
beats me. It beats all reason. Like, how do you explain this? Wow,
yes.
wow.
Interestingly, the German company, they didn't provide full sponsorship, but they
But you
provided
had,
all the supports that I needed.
but guess what? This is different because already you said you have your external residency, which
Yes,
you were able
exactly.
to fly from Nigeria
Yeah,
to Germany. So there were no delays.
yeah,
It was just a ticket.
yes,
And while you were running
yes,
out of money, I'm sure you had some money to book your flight back to Germany. So
yes,
you were gone. But this
yes,
time it was even
yes.
a better opportunity, like you mentioned, right?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
city. So compared to like um Estonia and Latvia, I had moved there to develop my career, but with Berlin, I moved there. Yes, I wanted to develop my career, but also I fell in love with the city. So,
Wow.
and plus the company is also one of the best companies that anyone can work at. So,
Wow. I mean,
it was.
if you're hold on, Wale, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're in Berlin, please um, drop a comment, confirm the Wally's claim that Berlin is a Wally's claim about Berlin. Please confirm in the comment section. This is an exciting direct session. Not to mention, please, if you're enjoying the content, like our channel and subscribe as well. Okay.
Yes.
All right then.
Yes, so I my trip to back to Berlin was interesting. I didn't have like if you know anything about Berlin, like it's difficult to get an apartment, to get a place, especially if you're a foreigner. So even like most major cities, like if I remember correctly, most major big cities in Germany, it can be difficult. But Berlin especially is notorious for that level of difficulty. Um, so heading back, I kind of knew, I was doing some research. I knew about that a little bit. So I have my friend who is Nigerian and
Yeah.
was working in Berlin at the time. When I was going back, he wasn't in the country, so he had traveled to the US to go and do some things with his own company. and I basically didn't have anyone that is no longer living in Berlin that I could stay with. The other friend that I had, his own situation had changed, so I couldn't also stay with him in Berlin. So I had to look for another option. So basically, had to. I have another friend who was living in the southern part of Germany. So I basically called him up, and he was like, "Hey, come over, like, come stay with me." So I just flew directly to his city. He lives in Wiesbaden, so flew to Frankfurt. It's close to Frankfurt. I flew to Frankfurt. He came to pick me up, and then we drove back to his place. And so I stayed with him while I was looking for a place in Berlin and processing my documents, my residence documents for Germany.
Okay,
Um,
so this was a different experience because in Estonia and Latvia, the companies was a full cover. They sponsored the rest of
yeah,
your accommodation,
yeah.
relocation and everything. But this time in Germany, they only sponsored your documentation, but
Yeah, no, they
not
only provided the support as far as, like, for example, if they need to call like embassies or wherever, they would do that. If they need to write, they on that they're providing all the documentation as soon as
okay
possible.
for your work permit. Okay,
Yeah, to get the residence.
okay,
Once you have your residence, it's the same thing as your permit. They
all
get the
right.
residence as soon as possible. So they provided all of that as soon as possible. The only aspect is they didn't provide any financial support, which is, for example, like relocation support or
Yeah,
things like that. They didn't provide that.
because
So
basically they hired you as a an EU resident, right?
yes,
Basically.
exactly,
So yeah,
exactly.
okay. So I'm getting
Even
I'm getting an angle of all of this right now, and I'm
yeah,
beginning to get it an angle of it.
yeah. Now, even yes, that's what they hired me as, but like regardless, like other companies still provide like relocation support, like so just that they don't have that policy for whatever reason. Like there are many companies that will hire, whether any part of EU, they will support you financially with relocation and things like that, but they don't. That's just it. But
Okay, so I think I've been hearing a lot of stuff online about Germany providing support for immigrants for school for work like you
yeah,
mentioned. I think
yeah,
in the future we're gonna for our followers. This is for you. We will come up with a content on some of those will I say opportunities although some of the available opportunities with
yeah,
relocating to Germany when it comes to
yeah.
professional opportunities as well as any other. So stay tuned. Please hit the what's it called the subscribe button so that when we post this content, you'll be able to get it real time. All right. Okay.
Yes.
Over to you, Wale.
Yes. So, I so that's what I did. I was in Wiesbaden. I was looking for a place in Berlin while I was processing my residence documents. I didn't get my residence documents until January. So I was hoping I could get it in December because I flew back in December and start working in January. But like I didn't get it until January, and then I started working in February. So yeah, that's pretty much how I moved to Germany. They have I would say that like the processes as far as the residency is concerned is pretty much straightforward for Germany. And I think the biggest in which is everyone knows Germany for is the process can be complex, but
Okay.
once you are aware of the process and you have all the documentation that you need, it's pretty straightforward. You just take it to them. They'll tell you, okay, fine, it will be ready on so date or whatever. So it's pretty straightforward with the residents. So yeah, so that's how I got to Germany. And I lived in Germany for from 20 late 2019 up until 2022. No, late 2018 rather. up until 2022, before I moved here.
Funny thing is, your story is the bomb. This diary session is amazing because I thought you should have landed in America, but that was the question I asked you before we landed in episode 4 of your diary of this diary session, right? My immigrant diary was supposed to be how you moved from Nigeria to America, but instead you have taken us through Europe. And I don't, if anyone anyone was seeing this, you could we'll put the link to some of the other the previous diary sessions. But honestly, Wale, if there's one thing your story um, has done for me as the host for today is clarity of vision. If there's one thing,
Yeah,
clarity of vision. Because with everything that happened, you could have been discouraged. You could have given up. You could have, settled for um, plan B, right? You could have settled for anything, right? And you could. There's so many endless options. I mean, I can ask for a survey or contribution from our listeners what they think you could have done. I am certain there will be loads and loads of suggestions. But one thing I'm taking away from this story today is the clarity of vision. And thank you for sharing your this session, this diary session with us.
no
All right.
problem.
But stay tuned and stay with us as we're going to talk about the final diary session of our Wale Fine Meeting.